Hi there. Welcome to Life Between Coasts, the podcast where we dive into our personal journeys connected through synchronicities. So grab your coffee, light a candle, and let's begin. I'm your host, Leah, and today we're sitting down with our friend Brigitte. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are
Welcome
you
to the
today?
show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So Brigitte, tell me all about you. Where do you want to begin?
Oh, goodness. Well, since it's between coasts, I was raised on the East Coast. I grew up in Atlantic City,
Nice.
and my parents were both in the casino business.
Okay.
So people often think that I'm an Army kid because we moved around so much, but it was really that they were opening up different casinos in different areas. So we moved from Atlantic City to Las Vegas,
Okay.
then to California, back to Vegas, and then when I was 16, we officially moved to Michigan.
Okay.
Then my dad opened up the MGM.
Okay. In Detroit.
Yep. And then I met my husband. We met in high school and fell in love. And I went away to college uh, when I was 18
Okay.
and went to Mississippi and was there for about 2 years.
Okay.
And then he proposed and I came back up here. And then we've been living here ever since. I'm in Ann Arbor, but we started out in Ypsi.
Okay.
So, I love Michigan. I love the seasons, all that. My family's in California right now. And let's see, I love music. I'm a musician and I love to write songs about real life experiences. I have some church related songs. I have some songs about grief. My father passed away 10 years ago, and I have a whole EP of songs just dedicated to healing through loss. So I love music and I love doing it. And then I also have two boys. I have a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old, and they go to school part-time. We also homeschool them.
Okay.
So, and I've been married for 22 years to my high school sweetheart.
Wow. Oh, that's so fabulous. So now when you first moved back to Michigan, where did you grow up?
Ypsilanti.
Oh, so you
Yeah,
moved to
yeah.
Ipsy. So you went to Ipsy High School and
It's shut down now, but it was like a private Christian school. And
okay.
I feel like it was almost just a way for my husband and I to meet. You know what I mean? Like fate, because
Yes.
it was open for a season and then it completely shut down.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Amazing. Oh, it was like the door that opened just to
Yeah.
say, "Okay, here you go,
There
Bridget.
you go.
Here's your soulmate."
Yes.
Amazing. I like that. I really like that story. Now, so you graduated from there,
Yeah.
and then you said you went to college in Mississippi. Where in
Mississippi.
Mississippi?
What's funny is that college shut down as well.
You
I
have
didn't
a
even
good
know.
track
I've
record.
never even seen this before. It's so funny. Yeah, I went there for 2 years and it shut down about 2 years after I left.
Okay.
And they were going through a lot of financial hardships. And so
Okay.
I went down there and it was great. I went for music and
Okay.
then came back up here.
What city in Mississippi then?
It was Jackson.
Okay. Okay. So here's just because I have some family that lives in Gulfport, moved down there just after Katrina, but
Okay.
it's not the University of Mississippi, it's like University of Southern Mississippi,
Sure.
there in Gulfport or whatever, but they have I talk about the friendship oak quite often. It's a tree that's about 650 years old.
Oh, wow.
And it took almost, well, because Katrina hit Bay St. Louis, which was to the
Right.
just to the
Yeah.
west of it. So it almost took a direct hit and it's still standing. And so it's just to know like the strength of that tree
Right.
is, so when you
Oh,
talk
neat.
about coping and things like
Yeah.
that, you just think about because that goes align with a lot of things that we work on. And so just the strength of that tree was just amazing to think about all of what it saw in all of that 650 years,
Oh,
but then
yeah.
also taking a direct hit at such a intense energy,
Yeah.
let's call it that. So, well, very cool. Now what does you said music, so you dedicate a lot. What were you able to form like a career path out of music, and so 100% music?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So I
tell me
play.
about that.
It's been 15 years and
Okay.
I have done I feel like every style of music almost,
Yes.
and I know that people say to like niche in, and you hear that all the time, like find your niche and stay in it. I have such a hard time with that. And I hate
Yes.
that because I feel like we are so multi-dimensional as people.
Yes.
And so I have like so many different styles that that I've dabbled in and I'm currently dabbling. And like
Right.
right now I have some folk music that's coming out and I have a Mother's Day song that's coming out. And
Okay.
so Yeah, I'm able to do it full time and I love it.
Fabulous. And what kind of now you said your family is currently in California, so
Mhm.
mom and siblings or
My dad passed away 10 years ago. So
yeah.
then my brother and his family,
Okay.
they're all there. So we love to go in December. Usually we'll take a big trip for a few weeks during
Right.
Christmas break and we
Right.
spend time all together and it's awesome. I wish they were closer, but you know,
Right.
you take what you
Absolutely.
can get.
And then growing up, so you're growing up in some major cities, obviously with a lot of life. I mean, you start out in Atlantic City, so you have the
Right.
ocean, you have the boardwalk, you've got a lot of fun things going on. How old were you when you first moved from there to?
10.
So you were 10 there,
Mhm.
and then you were in Vegas,
Yep.
and then you went from Vegas. How long were you in Vegas for? Now, it's just like because it's such an odd thing to think about growing up in a city like that,
Right.
or but
Yeah.
when you live there, it's completely different. It's not just
Oh
the
yeah.
Strip,
It's not the straight it's so much bigger, like, there's Henderson,
Right,
there is Green Valley, there's Summerdale, and so there's so many different parts of Las
right.
Vegas, and so I remember when I moved here, everyone's like, "You're from Vegas? Did you live in a casino?" I'm like, "No." It's so big.
I know when you're from the Midwest, it's like everything seems like it's weird. It's just like you glamorize some things in your
Right.
brain a lot more, I think,
Yeah.
than when you actually see it. I found some old I guess it's what is it 8 millimeter film. That was my grandfather's, and he had taken some video of like old Vegas, like where it was just the original
Oh, God.
downtown,
Yeah.
like the Stardust and things like that. And it's amazing to see just the differences. And that was probably, well, see, he passed away in 79. So I'm gonna guess that that was somewhere in the mid-70s that he would have taken that video and
Yeah.
everything like that. So,
Oh, nice.
but it's cool to see that. And then you said you were 16 when you came to Michigan, so
Yeah.
you didn't spend a whole lot of time in California then?
No, it was like 6 months.
Yeah.
So, there was a Indian reservation casino, and
Okay.
it was called the Pachanga,
Okay.
and my dad opened that up, and then he got a new opportunity in Michigan, and so or no in Las Vegas. He got a new opportunity in Las Vegas to open the MGM,
Okay.
and so it was, like, back and forth,
Yeah.
and he also opened up the Luxor when it first started, and so I was
Okay.
just like it was a lot of
And
back and forth
how
laterally.
much did you, like, understand what they were doing as a child? Just was it, just, like, all bells and whistles or things to you, or were they just removed from the picture a lot, or, like, a lot of work, or how was it for you?
It was a lot of work, but we were, like, super involved, like, my mom was a model, and so she modeled in the casinos,
Okay.
and so she would drag us along, like, we would go to all the buffets, and so I felt really included in it, my brother and I both did, and so we
Right.
were we were casino kids, you know?
Yeah. I know, it's pretty cool, though. It's fun to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, mine was not glamorous, but I was, at the bowling alley in a small town that I grew up in. It was funny because I was always bussing tables at like 6 years old,
Yeah.
just clearing tables for tips, and things like that. I was always about making money. I was I was the kid that wanted to make money from the very beginning. So like if you had a loose tooth, I'd sit in the mirror and wiggle it until it fell out so I could get my dollar. That was
Yeah.
me. So, but just thinking about, I've only been to Vegas now twice. The second time it was more the crisscrossing, going into Henderson, going up Mount Charleston, going
Yeah.
over to Lake Mead, and Hoover Dam, and then, and what's the park right there in,
Red Rocks?
no, in Arizona, Willow Beach.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, I haven't been back since, like, 2009, but, Willow Beach, was very non-commercial. You could just pull up and walk into the water and swim if you wanted to. Now when you go there, I guess there's, like, it's like you have to pay to park, and
Oh.
there's concession stands, and they've told it totally changed it differently. And so then going back to you here, um, what what made you stay? You say you love Michigan, so what made you stay here?
My husband.
He born and bred in Michigan,
Born
was
and bred,
not
all of
gonna
his
go
all of his family's here, and what's
put my
funny
feet
is
down.
when I went to Mississippi, it was like a fork in the road moment, if that makes sense. So my
Right.
family, when I graduated, like, they were waiting for us to graduate, and then they were moving back to California because
Okay.
they got another job
They
out there.
they already
Yeah,
planned, yes.
so they were like, "We're going," and my brother's 2 years younger, so he was going with them,
Right.
and so it was like, "Do what do I do? Do I stay here in Michigan? Like, I have nowhere to live, what
Right?
do I do?" And then an opportunity came to do music in Mississippi, and so we dated long distance, my husband and I did.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Well, at least it's not California." You know what I
Right.
mean?
We're in the same time zone.
Right, same time
Well,
zone,
hours,
it's like a
but yeah.
15-hour drive, and
Yeah.
so I did that, like, I did 15-hour drives on, I'd catch a ride if somebody like if they had family up north, they
Right.
had an event in Canada, and so they were passing through Michigan, and I was
Exactly.
like, "Oh, can I come with you? Can I?" And so I would just do whatever I could to come back up and then find my way back down.
Mhm.
But I feel like that was just when I got the opportunity to go to Mississippi, I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go here. I don't know if this is like the right thing to do, but it
Right.
feels right because it's like a little holding pattern until we can officially like get married and do all that because that's what we knew we wanted to do that.
Right. Right. And so when you, um now was it a 2-year program that you were in, or did you finish when you
It
came
was a
back?
4-year
Oh,
program.
so okay,
I
so you
dropped
went
out.
for
Yep,
2, you dropped out, came back to Michigan. Did you continue your education?
I did. Yep,
Okay.
yep. Went for music at Washtenaw.
Okay. It's a great school.
Yeah,
People don't realize that the
you don't have
community college,
yeah, you don't have to spend a ton of money
it's
to
a
get
third of the cost per credit hour to
exactly.
go to
That's what I'm
WCC.
telling my kids.
And oh my gosh,
Yep,
and and the professors moonlight for both Eastern and U of
yep,
M. So
exactly.
you get the professors, you get the quality education,
Yeah.
and you get I think you get a lot more exposure
Yes.
because it's a lot of varied people that you get to come
Right.
into contact with. So
Exactly.
it's a lot more fun too. But I there was you so you finished music there, and then what was your first venture into recording?
So I started singing at church, and what
Okay.
was funny is we had these college and career worship nights forever ago, and they needed a guitar player. And my husband didn't even know that I really played guitar. He knew that I had like dabbled in it, took some lessons, whatnot. He knew I could
Right.
sing, but not really that I was not that musically inclined.
Right.
Like he didn't know. And so I was like, well, I can play. And
Yeah.
so he found out the first time when I was up there leading worship, and he's like, what the heck? Like, we've been married for a whole year, right?
Right.
And
Right.
and so it kind of I started writing songs after that. I used to write songs when I was younger too, but then I hit like my wild teenage years and just I wanted to party. I didn't really want to do things that required a lot of work, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. And
Mhm.
so I really picked up songwriting again after I got married and just really dove into it. And then
Mhm.
from there, I was he said, "You need to, like, put these out. Like, you can't just sit on these." And
Right.
so I started looking for different producers. I didn't wanna go the Nashville route because it just felt like it was so much money, and I'm like, "There's gotta be good people and good talent here that can help me get these songs out." And so I found a guy in Adrian,
Mhm.
and we just started going from there, and now I do all my stuff remote. Like, I do it bouncing back and forth. I have my own studio in the basement,
Mhm.
and so things are more complicated, but yet simpler.
Right. Right. Because well, you think of if you think about the times, you hear about the Nashville stories or
Yeah.
even like, the same as the Hollywood stories.
Yep.
You pack your bags, you go, and you work as a waitress or whatever, trying as you're trying to get somebody just to hear you,
Yes.
where you can moonlight on stage and get out a few of your songs.
Yeah.
So that's a hard lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear about some of the major stars that end up going to work at Costco or wherever else,
Right.
just to make it. And so that's a just a wonderful blessing to be able to now be to the point where you can do it at home
Yeah.
and offer your music. Now, how many albums do you have out or how many songs?
Gosh. That's so like, okay, so I have an EP that came out in 2011.
Uh-huh.
Then my I have another EP that came out, 3 EPs, 4 EPs, and then I have a slew of singles.
Okay. And what is so you said you vary on genre. What would be your the one you favor the most?
Worship
Mhm.
and, contemporary Christian music,
And why do you think that?
just because my faith is so special to me.
Mhm.
It's so important to me.
Mhm. And what draws you there? Just
I
curious.
think just relationship. I grew up hating faith.
Mhm.
Like my mom would just drag me to church and drag me all these places,
Mhm.
and I wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. Like
I
I was like it just and I love my mom so much now. I'm
Yeah.
like, gosh, you were such a saint for dealing with me because I was just the worst teenager. I
Mhm.
was so bratty.
Mhm.
And I just I remembered I fell in love with God,
Mhm.
on my own. It
Mhm.
wasn't through my mom or through anything else. It was my own personal journey. And I was tired of everything else that I had been doing. I was tired of doing drugs. I was tired of drinking. I was tired of all the things.
Mhm.
And that set me on my path. And I just not religion, but relationship. So I fell in love with just the character of God, that he's loving and he's good and he's not what I grew up on, which is like fire and brimstone and,
Mhm.
you gotta dot all your T's and cross, or dot all.
I know
Cross all
what
your
you mean.
T's
I know
and
what
dot
you
all
mean.
your I's.
It's funny because, and I should have grabbed it and brought it with me, but I was walking my dog before I came in for the interview today, and we have in the neighborhood, people set out books and things like that, and so there was a table with several boxes of books that I stopped and perused really quickly over and picked up one and took it and brought it, and it's about this thin, and it says, spirituality as a baseline for therapy and things
Yeah.
like that. And so I'm like, very interesting because it's part of like the journey that I personally am going through. So that's why I'm asking you, what
Yeah.
made you, change or become more closely aligned with God.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the thing. It's a relationship. It's not just, okay, yes, there's a higher power. Yes, there's this, yes, or that. It's getting to that relationship and working through it, and how you talk to him or her, however you believe what they are,
Right. Right.
And so it's just like that's the biggest thing. It's
It's like
because
a
it's different
friendship.
for everybody,
Yeah.
and so that's a very interesting look at it. I think I didn't that when you said it, that's when it just clicked.
Yeah. Well, it's more like a friendship, and with friendships, you're allowed to ask hard questions, and you're allowed to vent. Like, I remember, like, you know what I'm saying? And so I always feel like God can handle your questions. Like, he can handle, like, if you believe that he created the universe, which I do,
Right.
then he can handle you getting mad, you getting frustrated. Like, I've had, like, very, very, like, intense conversations with God where I'm just like, "I don't get this." Like,
Yeah.
I'm really mad at you,
Yep.
but you just like any relationship, you come back together and
And yes, and you
you're
make
walking it out.
right, right, and it makes sense because you sometimes you just have to release it and get it out, and then you can put the pieces back together.
Yes. Yep.
And it's interesting because you feel lost when you're releasing it, but then when you start to put the pieces back together, it makes sense. You're like,
Yep.
"Oh, yeah, I see why it
Yeah.
happened that way."
Right.
And you didn't, like, really think about
Right.
the leading up part,
At the time, it
So
doesn't, like, a
no,
lot of things don't make sense.
no.
Like, I'm like, why did my dad pass? Like, why did and you
Right.
just different questions along your journey. And
So let's talk about that. So you wrote uh, an album with 10 songs
three songs.
or
So
3
it's an
songs.
EP,
EP.
extended
Sorry.
play. Yep.
I don't know
Oh,
all the
you're
lingo.
good. Yep.
I am like that. Here's I don't know
good.
anything. Sorry. So EP extended play. So 3 songs for your father. Um, what? Tell me about your relationship with him. What? It was important.
Yeah, I was such a daddy's girl. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we just got each other.
Mm-hmm.
And when he passed, like, it was like I knew it, but I didn't know it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so we were visiting, and I remember seeing him in the hospital. I'm like, "Mom, like, he's not doing good." But my mom is, like, super positive thinker all the time.
Right.
And so she's like, "He's gonna pull through. I'm like, "I don't think he is, Mom."
Right.
And I'm not trying to be, like, negative or, like, put any bad vibes out there, but I
Right.
I can see things, and he passed within 2 days of me saying that and us being out there, and we had a flight scheduled the day that he passed, and so we had to call up. The airline was great about getting an extension, but,
Right.
I helped write his eulogy, and, it was really hard. But I had a song that I had written, like, right before, and I remember sitting on the couch, like, sharing it with my mom, and it was called Promises, and it was about, like, what heaven's gonna be like and how beautiful it's gonna be, and
Mm-hmm.
even, like, and it was God singing it over you, and it's, like,
Mm-hmm.
just saying that he's gonna be with you, and you're gonna see it's gonna be more beautiful than you can imagine. And I'm like,
Right.
"Mom, what do you think of this song?" And she's like, "It's beautiful. I don't know why you wrote it, because Dad's gonna be fine, but I don't know why you wrote it." And I was like, I wrote it because I was just picturing it, and I don't know what it's actually for right now." And then I sang it at his funeral,
Right.
like, 3 days later, and so
Mm-hmm.
it was, like, almost like a little God wink, like, I gave that as a gift to you to give to the family. And
Mm-hmm.
it was very hard, but it was very rewarding at the same time. I was able to give that to my dad, and,
Right.
I believe that there's little pockets, little windows in heaven.
Yes.
I don't care if anybody else believes it, like,
I
you don't
do.
have to, but it's like I do. I believe that our loved ones can see little moments,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're with us.
Oh, yes. They have control of the radio.
Yeah.
That's what I say. It's because, especially like when you go to turn on music, depending on your mood or whatever you've been thinking about, all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like that song or their song will come on,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, I know you're here. Fine,
Yeah.
whatever. Stop. stop,
Right.
like,
I get it.
don't haunt me. I know what
Yeah.
you're saying, kind of thing.
Yep.
It's just like there's those times, just leave me alone. But then, now, being a daddy's girl, I understand that because I was one too. So
Oh.
it's the hardest thing when daddy dies,
Yeah.
and was privileged. It was a very quick, it was a 2-week downhill, but very quick once he was put in the hospital. It was, he was in on Friday morning and gone by Sunday morning. And, but the one thing I say, his eyes were the bluest I've ever seen them.
Yeah.
And so, I made the joke as he was like staring at me taking his final breaths. I said, Dad, there's a tea time at or at Augusta or
He was like,
something, oh, big time.
oh, my
So,
dad was too.
yes.
Yeah.
So it was like, there's a tea time somewhere
Yeah.
for you, I'm certain. And then there's plenty of people that preceded him that I'm certain were waiting for him to go golfing,
Oh, yeah.
because he was a good one too. So,
Oh, I love it.
but yeah, that was the fun part. But yeah, sad. So it's really, really
Yeah.
hard when, especially because my mom had an extended illness. We had her for 7 months, but he was so quick, and he was the last one, and it was just like,
Mm.
why are you doing this to me? So
Yeah.
those are the questions that you ask
Right.
sometimes.
Oh, yeah, 'cause it doesn't make sense, and then sometimes you pray for people and you don't know why some people get better and then some
Yep.
people don't, and so there's no actual
I think
definitive
he was
there's no
ready.
definitive answers.
In him, he was ready. He was a sneaky one. He broke his hip 2 weeks before. So when he went in, he actually went in on a DNR, so did not he chose to do that.
Yeah.
And then, we were dealing with treatment, and we had gone to the oncologist because he had had cancer. It wasn't part of an organ or anything, but, ultimately, it was a GI bleed that took him, which is complications of hip surgery and
Right.
things like that, and then, of course, the medicine that he was on. But when they took him to the hospital Friday morning from the nursing home that he was in, or the acute center that he was in, he went in and told them full code, basically, because I was still 45 minutes away at his house
Yeah.
to get into town. So he made sure that they did everything to keep him alive until I got there. And then when I got there, he said a couple words to me, which were quite funny. We're sitting in the emergency room, and he's like, "Yeah, just go get me a joint." He goes, "Just a couple
Aw.
puffs. They won't. They
Oh,
guys know."
so fun.
And so I'm like, Dad, we can't do that. We can't like open flame here." And
It's
and that
secret
was
my
his
dad.
thing. And I'm like, "Dad, we can't do that." He was such a hippie, and and so I turned on the music, and the song that came on was "My Girl,"
Oh.
which was my song for him, and that was the last time he talked to me. So I know how it feels. It's
Huh.
really hard. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I needed that. So what? Tell me more about the other songs, the other 2 songs.
Um, so the other 2 songs are Keep On, and then I wrote that probably 3 months after he passed, and that was just because I was angry, and it was about keeping on, and just keep on when you don't feel it, when you don't
Yeah.
see it, and just know that you still have a purpose, that
Yeah.
even though your loved ones are gone, that you can still look to the future and look ahead and keep going.
Yes. Yes. And I do, and so I apologize for being a crybaby here
Oh, no,
on
you're good.
your when I'm trying to, learn about you. But it's, that's the important part is holding them heart, in your heart,
Yeah.
and being able to still continue to live and share their memory through the stories that you tell and the songs that you sing.
Yes.
What was his favorite song that you sang?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think if he loved country music. And that's funny because that's kind of like what the vein that I'm doing folk and country now. I'm
Yes.
doing like a lot of that.
Oh, I love singer-songwriter songs from the '70s. That
Oh
was
yeah.
my big thing.
Yeah.
So
So I'm trying to think of what his favorite song that I did was. I want to say that it was probably trying to think of even because he passed away in 2016.
Mhm.
he loved the song Pure Worship that
Mhm.
came out, and that was, like, like, a year before he passed, but he loved that, and he was going through dementia as well,
Okay.
and so, like, before he was he was super in and out, and it was hard because I was here, and so all of our conversations were this was even before FaceTime, so it was all on the phone, and
Right.
then we'd go and see him, but like, he went downhill so quickly, and my mom would just say, "Everything's fine, he's gonna pull through,
Yeah.
everything's fine," and so when we came out there, he
Yeah.
was like it was a full shock,
Yeah.
and I'm like, He's not fine, like, this is really bad,"
Yes.
and then he passed away, but I remember him I don't even think that he really, like, got the lyrics or the meaning, but he loved the way it made him feel,
Yeah.
and he loved the peacefulness of it.
Mhm.
And so I that's why I think that music can really transcend a lot of different things. Like I was talking to my youngest today and he loves a rock group called Skillet, right?
Okay.
And so they're a Christian rock group and he's like, "Do only Christians listen to them?" I'm like, "No." Absolutely not. I was like,
Well,
they have a lot of songs that are both, and I was like, and you can kind of like listen to different lyrics, and you can really what depends on what you're going through. And I was like their song "Invincible," buddy, like they're talking about being invincible. Like
right.
you can feel invincible because you're overcoming something. I was like, so you don't have to have like that tie to the certain religion to appreciate music. And
Exactly.
so he was like, "Oh, that's cool," and then he moves on because he's 12.
Yes, yes. No, it's always it's the words, it's the lyrics.
Yeah,
That's what draws you in because it's gonna there's a certain moment that it just strikes you just so,
yeah.
and it doesn't matter what type of music it is. It's always going to be, if you can understand the words in a lot of cases. I mean, the screaming like Anthrax kind of music. I'm not. It's hard for
Like
me to
it.
listen to. I like some of it,
Yeah.
I like some of, like, the guitar and, and there's certain back sounds or beats or whatever they refer to, but when you're, like, screaming into the mic and I can't understand what you're saying, that's the hard
I
for me
feel
to
like I
hear.
can handle it in bits and pieces.
Mhm.
So I like it. Like I like the harder music. I was
Yeah.
very like when I was a teenager, I listened to Marilyn Manson and Tool and like all like really really hard
Right.
stuff.
Well, yeah,
And
and, 9 Inch Nails and
Nine
all
Inch
of
Nails,
that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I listened to that.
yeah.
But they had moments, and so it wasn't all like
Exactly.
and it was just little bits, and so
Right.
you could appreciate the journey of the music without
Yes.
being screamed at the whole time.
Exactly. No, that is true. I was so I always say my mom, she was cheesy soft rock or cheesy love songs, so it was always soft rock, and my dad was the classic rock. But
Oh,
then, so mine was always the blend with the folk. So I
yeah.
always kind of went into like the singer-songwriter version of the 70s.
Yeah.
So even going as far as buying that silly Time Life collection,
Oh,
because
I
it's
love
like
those.
that's like the perfect. It was
Oh,
the
yeah.
perfect compilation, and of course, this is before, like, all the downloads, and, I mean, even before, I think they put those things out well before they even had, what was the Napster or whatever, before you could even actually trade.
Yeah.
Do you remember
Yeah.
that? Well before you could, like, try to trade music or something
Yeah.
like that. I mean, before all these little gadgets and stuff that we have now, but
All the things now.
yeah, so now with your how's your relationship what's your relationship with your mom? You said you're very close,
We
so
are very close. But it wasn't always that way.
right.
So she's learned to let go a lot
Mhm.
and realized that my life is not her life and her life is not my life.
Okay.
And so we have different, I grew up in when I say a religious, like oppressive religious, like when I say that, I fully mean that, like almost
Okay.
to the point where it was like a cult. And
Okay.
so when I say I'm very fascinated with cult documentaries because I'm like, how do these work? Like how,
Okay.
and so
Okay.
because it really was like that.
Okay.
And she's not in that anymore. And so I
Okay.
always tell her, I'm like, how's it feel that you like took us to a cult for a little bit there, And she's like, not too good. I was like, but I met my husband in that.
Okay.
And so we both came out like we both like escaped that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Not so much escaped. It wasn't like a fundamental
It was
sport where you have to get out of it, but a lot of the
it wasn't a Jonestown issue.
exactly
It was just there was a
a lot of cult tendencies.
right.
And
Right.
so like it that's why I rebelled so far away from it. I'm like, I want nothing to do
I
with
could see
this.
that. I could
Like
totally see
nothing.
that.
And then down the road, I was like, hey, you know that like this isn't even in like the Bible that you're like saying that you believe in,
Right,
right?
right, right.
And so it took a lot of kind of what is the word for it? not disentangling, deconstruction.
Mhm.
It took a lot of that from that particular vantage point, and so
Okay.
we both went through that, and I'm like, "Hey, like, this isn't true.
Right.
Like, this is, like, they are fully gaslighting you. This is 100% false."
Right.
And so it took a long time, but then now we look back on it and we're like, "Man, that was pretty funny. That was pretty crazy." You know?
Right. Well, yeah, because if you think now, obviously, you think that everybody that goes into a situation like that, oh, they must be weak-minded or something like that, but it's not always that. Part of it's just a sense of community and
Yeah.
just being the same with a group of people,
Thank you.
and so it's not so, I mean, what was your like, how did you, like, break away, let's say?
Well, so it's funny that you say that. So my mom got involved with it because she almost died.
Okay.
Actually, she did die. Like, she was pronounced on the flatlined on the table
Okay.
for, I think she said, about 4 minutes.
Okay.
And she was allergic to penicillin. The doctor didn't realize it. They gave her penicillin. She flatlined.
Okay.
And they were able to revive her and bring her back. And so she was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I died. Like, I died." And so she's like, "I need to figure out, like, I need to find something. I need to find some type of God, some type of religion." And she was raised Lutheran, and she's like, "Is that it? What am I gonna do?" And so
Right.
it was the first people that knocked on her door,
Okay.
if that makes sense. Like, she's like, "Oh, well, then this must be God," and it was not. And so she was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna join this because 'cause I'm gonna take this as a sign."
Okay.
And so it was,
Just a not the right group.
yeah, just not the right group, but she was never fully in it, if that makes sense. So she
Right.
would go but it was a very normal childhood, and she wasn't, like, fully in it until I was, like, in my teenage years.
Okay. And then then she was fully engrossed.
Yeah, and then I was like, "Oh, I ain't having that." Like, that's like, that's wild.
And so when you were able so you said you and your husband now husband, both broke away from that.
Yes.
Was she still part of that when you
Yes.
left?
Yep.
And so then you had to pull her out
Yep.
too?
Yep. We had to go and just show her some of the things were, uh, really extra biblical, and a lot of the things were kinda scary,
Right.
and so we just very gently, because I feel like if you are too harsh with people who are in that environment and you're like, "Hey," like, you know what I mean? If you come alongside them in love and say, like, "I really care about you, and I really think that
Yes.
this is not God's heart for you,
Right.
and if we can inch towards something that looks more a semblance of normal."
Right.
And so it took a lot.
Right.
And
And so finally she
yep, finally she just, I mean, it was within the past few years.
okay. So it was a lengthy
Yep,
period of time. And was that after your dad had passed away?
it was after. Yeah.
Yes. So she was searching. So she lost him, which was basically her soulmate and her partner in life and everything. And flatlines, and then she was searching for the answers,
Yep.
and she thought she was finding the right ones and went down the wrong path.
Yes.
Thank goodness to help she has you to redirect or help to
That's
pull
right. That's
to
right.
this side to the side. So now and then you said, so 22 years with your husband?
Yes.
Married?
22 years in May.
In May,
Yep,
so
married.
married.
Yep, we got married, I was 20 and he was 22.
Okay, and, how do you give credit to or, what do you ta when, like, having a long relationship? I mean, because they're hard,
Yeah.
there's ups and downs and everything
Yep.
you go through, so what do you give credit to for going for 22 years?
We put God first in the center of our relationship. I would
Mhm.
definitely say it's that, but also marriage is not 50-50.
Right.
And so I feel like, and I heard that early on, like when you are keeping score and you're like, "Well, I'm gonna give 50% and then you gotta give 50%." And there's different seasons where one person's gonna give more and then
Mhm.
one person's gonna give less and then vice versa.
Right.
And so, but when you're constantly trying to almost outdo the other person and how much that you can be generous to them,
Mhm.
then that helps. Like, he's extremely generous and extremely like, "What can I do? How can I help?" And
Right.
it's a partnership. And so if you're not trying to help and better the other person's life, like, what on earth is the point?
Absolutely, absolutely, because I think there's a lot of thought that it is 50-50,
Yeah.
and that or if I bring the money, you clean the house kinda
Right.
thing, and it's like, no, because I'm not
No.
your mother
Right,
either, so
exactly, yes.
you clean up after yourself,
It took a while,
Yeah.
when we first got married, we were both working full time, and, he had an idea of how things were gonna go, and I had an idea of how things were gonna
Right,
go, and then you gotta communicate. Like, I'm like, "Hey, like, this is not how this we're not doing this."
right,
And then, both of us seeing eye to eye, and like it's not a certain job, like it's not his job to take out the trash. Like, oh man, like why won't you does that make it's
Right,
overflowing?
well, there's
Like if
certain
I see
roles,
it,
you figure there's the husband role, and then there's the wife role, which is trash, or the husband role, trash, mow the lawn, do
right,
these things. We're capable, we have,
right.
arms and legs, and we know how to start a lawnmower. It doesn't,
Yes,
it's okay.
exactly.
They're not gender specific,
Right. I mowed the lawn, like, for when we were
yeah,
first part of our marriage, like, I was the lawnmower, and
yeah.
I'm like, "Hey, you wanna do the dishes?" And so it's a balancing act. There's
Mhm.
not, like, gender specific roles, like, we're all
No.
working together to make the family unit work.
Right.
And then the kids are involved too, like, they have a ton of chores, and they're very, responsible for different aspects of the home. I'm like, "Have you done this and this and this?" And, they're it took a lot of long time to get them in a routine, but, they're
Well, right, at 12 and you said
16.
16.
Yep.
So the 16-year-old is probably a little bit easier to, like, bribe to do things,
Oh, yeah.
especially when they want gas money and
Yep.
car
All
keys
the
and things
things.
like that,
Yes.
but so that's a little bit easier. The
Yep.
12-year-old is hard.
Oh, yeah.
But they also get to see it demonstrated.
Yeah.
So they're growing up into a household that you're demonstrating the partnership, not the against the versus,
Yeah.
so that's a good thing too. And then you said that they go part-time to
They
public
do.
school and then
Yeah,
part-time at home
they go to
school?
a local private
Oh,
school, and so
private.
they go every day. They take a few classes, and then
Right.
it all started with COVID.
Okay.
So I was like, "I'm never gonna homeschool, like, that's mm-mm." And then we started doing it, and they, like, really thrived
Right.
because you don't have to be on a specific, like, trajectory.
Right.
And so my oldest is incredibly smart, like, he's very gifted in math and science, and so he's able to really move along faster.
Right.
And my youngest sometimes need a little bit more help, and so you
Mhm.
can stay on a subject until they actually get it without moving on.
Right.
And so when all the schools open back up, they're like, "We we wanna home like, we love this." And I'm like, "Okay, but you need, like, some social interaction." And so we were able to
It's
find kind
always the
of
question.
the marriage, the blend of both worlds, and it works out really well. And they do
That's
all the
good.
sports and all the stuff, so
Oh, that's fabulous.
yeah.
That is fabulous because and then you have control over their learning objectives as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
And so you know exactly what's in front of them and what to focus on or where they might need help too. Because
yeah.
if they go to school, you get the report back from the teacher and you ask you might ask your son and whether they're saying,
They'll
"Oh
just
yeah, I
"I
got it
know."
just fine.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah,
No
I'm good.
problem. Don't
Oh,
don't
yeah.
worry about that. And so it's that is definitely a good thing to have. And so what's next? So what's your future show? What are you hoping to do?
Oh, man, like, so many things.
Yeah, yeah, tell me.
Uh,
You've accomplished so much. I mean, this is great. I mean, it's you're checking the boxes, it seems, and the purpose and just the relationships. I mean, that's just the relationship with God, the relationship with your mother, how that's improved and changed.
yeah.
Obviously the relationship with parents. I mean, my dad was, I mean, he was with me the longest. My mom I was 25 when she passed. And so plus 21 years, when my dad passed, so it was just like he was with me the longest.
Yeah.
So that was my go-to, and so when that was the part that got ripped out, that was the hardest one, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was like, okay, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
What's next? So, I understand that relationship that you had with him and the purpose of writing the music for him. But what's next for you?
I have a few songs that are gonna be coming out, and, one's for Mother's Day, and it's called Mama. And I always one of our slogans that we have in our household is "I get to," not "I have to."
Yes.
And so I get to be your mama, and God chose me, and those are some of the lyrics, and it just goes on that they grow up and they leave their own legacy, but you planted some seeds, and hopefully they carry those along the way. And so that
Mhm.
song's gonna come out hopefully before Mother's Day. Like,
Excellent.
it's with, my producer right now, so I'm like, "Come on, get me the
Fabulous.
tracks, I can do the vocals." So I'm
And
hoping
how
that
well, and how do we find the music? Do you have a website? Do
Yep,
you where do we go?
BridgetteDonaho.com, and then it's Spotify, Apple,
Okay.
all the socials at Bridget Donaho, so Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the
Yes,
same.
and of course, we'll link from our website. We'll link to your main whatever you choose to tell us, whatever your main is, and then so they can go to straight from our website straight to you, and
Yep.
find your music. So I'm so excited for that. And what else outside of just releasing music? What else is on your plate?
Oh, let's see. I'm hoping to have, I know it sounds so simple, but a really good summer with my kids. And so we do events in the summer, but I'm super intentional. I'm like, okay, you only have 18 like really good summers and
Mm-hmm.
to be able to really hone in and spend time together. So we
Yes.
do a lot of events that are centered around our family. Like we'll go up north and I have an event up there
Mm-hmm.
and they get to go eat out of all the food trucks and do all the things at Pictured Rocks. And so doing events that are really synchronized with our family
Mm-hmm.
goal and
Mm-hmm.
togetherness is one of the big things of that. So we
Mm-hmm.
got a few events coming up and I I think it's an honor and a privilege to be able to do music. I get to do it.
Yes.
And so I
Mm-hmm.
pray that I get to do it and put out as many songs as I can while I'm here.
Oh, that's fabulous. I like that. I wish I could sing. I can, but it doesn't sound so hot.
Well, it is a muscle, and so I tell my husband always says, he's like, "I can't sing, I can't sing." I'm like, "Actually, you can." I was like, "'Cause he's got a decent tone,
Mhm.
but it takes, work." Like, I
Mhm.
do, like, all the trills and all the exercises, like, an hour a day, and he's like, "But you're not singing today." And I'm like, "But I am." Like, because 'cause you're gonna sing eventually, and so you have to have that muscle, and so it's like that the diaphragm and all the things it's almost like training.
It
So,
is. Right, so it's similar to going to the gym, so
yep.
doing that and I recall, from, elementary up through high school choir and that, so
Yep.
you always open up, with the
The
up
trills, yeah.
yes, and all that fun stuff, but and yes, I probably could if I tried, but it's my grandmother used to walk around the house and I'd be, screaming or not crying, but, like, just singing whatever song or whatever words popped in my
Yep.
head, I would make a song up to it, and she'd stop me and she'd say, "Leah, Leah, where's the money I gave you?" And I said, "What money?" And she says, "The money I gave you for singing lessons, dear." And off would walk away from me.
Sounds like
But
my grandma.
yes, and she's the one that the face right behind my pup right there on the
Aw.
table there, but she was such a love. She lived with us briefly, so it was great, so that's why she had enough of me. I was one of those you say bratty teenager. I was a
Yeah.
rambunctious, very loud and obnoxious one,
Yeah.
but it was very, very fun. So, now, Bridget, one of the things that we do is our anthem project. So it's about personal anthems. What's the song that speaks to you that lifts you up when you have troubles or when you're questioning things, perhaps, or just to get you through something. Sometimes it's a lifetime, and sometimes it's for a moment or a season. What do you think your personal anthem would be?
Right now, I wanna say "The Goodness of God" by CeCe Winans, and because I look back and I look at all the hard times and all the things that I've gone through personally in my life, and I say, "God is good."
Hmm. And I agree with you on that, and so does one of our other, uh, interviews from this season.
Aw.
She chose that song today, for hers as well, and so I listened to it and those it's a very powerful song.
Yes.
It is a very, very powerful song, so I'm glad that you've chosen that one, and thank you so much for being with us
Thank you
here.
for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And I apologize for, like, bawling my eyes out in the middle,
Oh,
so
you're good.
that's
It's
what we
healing.
humans do,
Yeah,
right? That's what we're gonna
absolutely.
do. So, and thank you again for joining us on this week's episode of Life Between Coasts. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to grow our community of listeners. We'd like to thank Bridget again for joining us this week, and we hope you have a great week. Until then, bye-bye.